actually played this game. Everyone watching right now in the chat, what's this song from? If you're an old school gamer like me, you should all know. One of the classics from the Nintendo era. Hard as balls, especially once you get towards the end. Woo! But when you win, it's so satisfying. Speaking of satisfying, I am here. Good morning. It's Monday. Let's start things up, shall we? 6 past the hour. 47 degrees out here in New York City. Coming to you live from Queens, New York. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. It may not be morning here on the East Coast, but it is still morning somewhere. Last time I checked, they are just having their morning over there in the West Coast. So, it still counts. What's up, everyone? Good morning. Happy Monday. It is the start of a brand new week. Whatever transpired or happened last week doesn't matter, because this week is a new week. So make it as you wish. Glad for all of you to be here and for tuning in as always. Again, apologies. Apologies. I should have something in here. My apologies.
You blew it!
For the late start. It's just one of those mornings where my computer had an update. And I told myself, I was like, you know what? Don't restart yet. Don't do it yet. Because the minute you do that, nothing ever is going to go good or go well. And when it's around a time when you knew there was something important pending that you have to take care of, that's usually the worst time to ever restart your computer. Because the minute you do that, then the updates will take a while, and then some things may not work right away, and then you have to restart again, and da-da-da, and this and that. So basically,
you blew it!
I blew it. So I said, you know what? I needed a little extra time to kind of gather myself anyway this morning, because I was already running late as is. So I said, you know what? Let's push it to noon. I'll still go live, and we'll take care of everything that needs to be taken care of. And computer's fine. You just need to go through its restart cycle and update everything, because you have to update everything. But everything is all fine and dandy. All cool. All good in the hood. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Like I said, I'm still settling in the morning. What's up, everyone? I hope you all had a great weekend. My weekend was fantastic. Before we get into anything, just a quick heads up and a reminder for this week's schedule. So yes, I'm live today. Be live again on Wednesday and live on Friday, but this is going to be a special week since I wasn't able to stream anything over the weekend. I promised I was going to do a video game stream. You
blew it!
I was going to do a stream over the weekend. And I kind of want to do like a dedicated stream where all we do is just chill, relax, do some gaming, talk about games and all that. And that was the original plan for the weekend. I missed my opportunities. A lot of stuff was going on. I had to take care of quite a bit of things on my end. So this week I'll be making it up. And on Wednesday night, I will have a special stream starting at around 6 or 7 p.m. because I'm going to be celebrating something that blew past my radar for a minute until I was reminded about it over the weekend. Dark Forces Remaster is coming out on Wednesday, and I will be streaming it live, my play, my reaction to a classic, all-time classic PC game from back in the day, from the MS-DOS era. I remember this game coming out and I fell in love with it the minute it did. Yes, it's a Doom clone, but there were so many other Doom clones out there. This is one of those that actually did it right and did it well. Plus, it's Star Wars. And the story was great from what I can remember. Um, and what was this? Digital Foundry did their recent review on it. And it just looks so cool. It looks very pretty. And it just reminded me of how fun that game can be. So I figured, 29 years ago, that's when this game came out. And the only console it was ever available on was PlayStation, the very first PlayStation. But it wasn't great because I think the hardware at the time just it wasn't meant to play that game. So it was fine, but nothing beats the MS DOS PC play of that game. And now that it's been updated for modern technology, modern gaming consoles and PCs, I can't wait to try it out. So Wednesday, 6 or 7 p.m. Eastern time, I will be streaming live my initial reaction and playthrough of Dark Forces Remastered. This is going to be a big week for a lot of things, actually, when you think about it. For a lot of people, everyone's anticipating Final Fantasy Rebirth. That's coming out this week, too. I am, too, but I don't know if I'll be able to play it this week, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. Even though the Final Fantasy VII Remake has a very, very significant moment of my life and what I do here on the channel, because it was Final Fantasy VII Remake that came out in 2020 that basically started my whole online career. It was the first game I streamed online. I streamed it on Twitch back in what was it, March or April of 2020, I want to say. And the first things I did on the YouTube channel was I posted some game clips and Final Fantasy VII Remake unboxing for the deluxe set. I kind of did like a parody on those those TV commercials, infomercials that you see at one point for the soundtrack. You know, like if you remember from back in the day, they had like these music compilations for everything. It's like songs for the lovers out there, or couples something, or birthday songs or party songs. That's when we used to have the what were those club compilations, Just Now or Hits Now or something like that. And all those commercials were kind of the same, where it goes through the list, the entire listing of what's featured on that compilation. And usually it's just like a running scroll of all the songs, right? And then when the commercial's closing out, I'd be like, call the number you see on the screen right now, get yourself some free shipping on first time orders, blah, 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 act now. So I kind of did like a parody on that for the soundtrack, which was included on the Final Fantasy VII Remake Deluxe set. So Final Fantasy VII, the new iterations, it does have a very significant moment for me. So it's kind of a shame that I may not be able to be playing it this week, but I will eventually play it. And on the movie side of things, you got Dune 2 finally coming out this week. They had a special fan screening over the weekend that I wasn't able to go to. It was like IMAX only, I believe, for most of it. The New York premiere, red carpet premiere, happened also yesterday here. And then I think there's another round of advanced screenings for people happening here in New York too today. I'm not able to go to any of these. I wasn't invited or anything like that, which is fine. So I am just going to be watching it as usual on Thursday. So expect me to be talking about that on Friday's stream. It'll be like a Dune 2 all morning Friday. So make sure to stay tuned for that. I'm halfway through Airbender, y'all. Netflix's live action Airbender. Halfway through it. So I'll be talking about that as my binge of the week for Wednesday. So Wednesday's morning stream, Airbender, review and discussion. Then Wednesday night, 6 or 7 p.m., Dark Forces Remastered play along, watch along, reaction, however you want to call it. Friday morning will be the Dune 2 review and discussion. And then, if it's in the cards, I want to have a standing stream that happens on the weekend, probably on Sundays, early afternoon, game and chat, where I'll just be gaming something. I'm going to use that moment to go through my pledge list that I've set up for myself for the year. And that is just to go through these games that I pledged to myself that these are the games that I'm going to be playing and completing, beating, whatever you want to call it, for the year of 2024. And I figured, let me at least dedicate a day of the week so that I can actually put a dent into that list. And that's going to be happening on Sunday. So that's the schedule for the week. If you're around, awesome. If you can't make any of those things, perfectly fine too. They will all be on streaming VOD on the channel that you could check out anytime. So it'll be a blast. It'll be awesome to have you all there and hang out, chat about things, talk about things, all that good stuff. All right. So all that stuff out of the way. The weekend was an interesting weekend for me. It was good. But I noticed it was filled. I'm not including Airbender in this. I'm trying to not let you know what I think about that just yet. But I think overall, it was a weird, mediocre watch from home entertainment type of weekend. The reason why I say that is because SNL was on Saturday. And it was okay. I feel like there was so much of a big deal about Shane Gillis hosting, former writer that was fired, controversial in his takes on society and life. And, the one thing I really cannot understand, or it's just something that I don't really like that they do on SNL, is whenever they have a comedian on, for the opening monologue, they have to do a set. It's like they always have to do a set. And they do that really annoying thing where they have to hand them a mic, like a handheld mic, because they have to pretend like they're on stage doing a comedy set. And sometimes it's funny and sometimes it's you get what you got on Saturday. Which was, and he did say something that was actually quite interesting and very important if you really knew what he was trying to say. He's like, my jokes aren't for TV. Right? And it's true. In a comedy club setting, if you were watching him on stage, a lot of his jokes would land really well because that's what people go there for. The SNL crowd is there for a multitude of reasons. They usually aren't there for you. Because when you get tickets for SNL, you never know who's going to be on because it's a lottery system. Plus, most of the time, the majority of the people there are from out of town. So sometimes you'll get a hot crowd and sometimes you won't. Sometimes you get a crowd who's into comedy and sometimes you don't. And I feel like the crowd from Saturday was just meh for the most part. It was so bad that even at the end, when they do their whole, bye everybody, and they're all on stage, kind of like jerking each other off for a great show. The crowd that's in the front, at a certain point, they just stopped clapping and they're just sitting there as if they're being forced to watch these people hug each other and congratulate each other for a wonderful show. And it just looked painful for me. Now, the rest of the show was fine. I think Shane is actually, I think they know, or he knows where he falls. So he's usually that typical kind of white guy, kind of dopey. Sometimes maybe could be mistaken for someone from the Midwest or whatever. And I think he plays that role really well. You know, the whole church thing I thought was hilarious. And him trying all of a sudden getting into like the Jamaican accent, I thought that was pretty damn funny, especially since it reminded me of my attempt to have a Jamaican like a Jamaican accent when I was celebrating my friend's birthday, who's Jamaican. And they were saying, "Oh boy, Renee, don't you ever try your Jamaican accent in front of real Jamaican people." I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm not even trying. I'm just, it is what it is. But when Shane was doing it, I thought it was like actually really funny, and it actually sounded really good. So I thought that was like really funny. And then, there were just like sprinkling some things like the whole office HR thing. I thought that was kind of funny. But the funniest skit that they didn't even air on TV was, if you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, the Saturday Night Live YouTube channel, they oftentimes will upload skits that were cut out of the TV program. Maybe it was something that they filmed in advance that they didn't air. Maybe they showed it to the crowd during a commercial break. And for the most part, for most of the time, those skits are just meh. But this one was actually pretty damn funny. And it was a parody on the whole the Liberty Mutual emu. Right? Limu, emu, and Doug. Those commercials. And the guy, Shane played Doug, and then you had the emo in there. And then it's like, it starts off as your like regular commercial. And then, you have the guy who's like signing up for the expensive insurance. They come in, they bust in through the doors, like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And all of a sudden, the emu shoots the dude on the couch. And it becomes like this crazy, corrupt cop drama type of situation where the emu is like, "Oh, we could plant this gun here." And then he found like cocaine under the couch. And he's telling Doug, like, "Don't worry, you'll get your cut." It got dark really fast. And it was so damn hilarious. What's up, PQ in the house? Limu and Doug. Yeah, that was hilarious. So you know what I'm talking about. And it was so damn funny. And I'm like, why didn't they include this on the broadcast? I feel like with everything else that they had, this at least would have gotten a really good laugh out of everybody. But so I just wonder like how they make their decisions on what to cut from the broadcast or what not to include. But a lot of the jokes fell flat during the whole night. And I think also the crowd just wasn't the right crowd. Like during Weekend Update, Michael Che will often make comments about the crowd. He's like, "I love this audience," and all that. He didn't mention anything once about the audience because the audience was just, I don't know where they were. I don't know where the audience was. I think maybe they were hoping for Sydney Sweeney. It's like, damn it, if we got the ticket for one more week, just 1 week later, we could have gotten Sydney Sweeney. Instead, we got this big fat white guy. This chubby white guy who, like, he likes to call himself, looking like he should be like an assistant coach for a high school basketball or football team. PQ saying the gambling skit was hilarious. Yeah, it was funny, but then it went on a bit too long. And I feel like it could have been cut short a little bit, but it was funny in the beginning. Kind of like, gambling is a serious problem, and we all know that one person. So you could bet on when that person's life's going to go to shit. Parlay, we have parlays for everything. When's he going to get a divorce? When he's going to lose his job? When he's going to put all his savings into a coin toss or the college kid fund into a coin toss bet? And that was pretty funny. But I felt it just went too long. But yeah. So that was SNL. Saturday was also a big WWE pay-per-view. They don't call them pay-per-view anymore. They don't call them pay-per-views anymore. They call them PLEs, premium live events, because no one pays for that stuff anymore. Remember back in the day, pay-per-view? Like whenever there was like a huge event, and since we all had cable, if we wanted to see this event, we had to fork out like $40 to $50 to view this event. Whether it was a wrestling event, a concert. Sometimes they would even do like special reunion shows or like comedy things. Something from a tour. Like those days of pay-per-views are long gone. And before that, it was closed circuit events. So if you wanted to see like a wrestling event, you had to go to some place, usually a bar or a restaurant, or even like a hall, like a Elks Lodge or something like that. And you pay a cover charge because they have to pay for their closed circuit for airing that event. And usually the cover charge was anywhere between maybe like $10 to $20. But then pay-per-view brought it into everyone's home. So yeah, so they don't do pay-per-views anymore because if you wanted to watch it, just, subscribe to Peacock and then you have access to all of them. But it was the Elimination Chamber, and it's the last premium event before WrestleMania in April. So of course I watched it because I am a casual wrestling fan and I like to watch these things. And for the most part, it was very entertaining. And I keep saying this over and over again. And I'll keep saying it until I'm blue in the face. Because I do have a disdain for this guy, Logan Paul, and his brother too. Like, I think they're like two of like the worst type of people on the internet. Wastes of space, in my opinion. Especially like during their earlier careers with their YouTube shits. But I will say this, Logan Paul has adapted to the whole wrestling thing and he is so good. It's almost as if he was built for it, which is so bizarre. Not only has he adapted to the movesets, the in-ring work, but he's got that personality that plays well against the crowd and against his opponents. And dude just knows how to sell moves, man. There was one moment where he got speared into the chamber. So the Elimination Chamber, you got like these 4 chambers, right? They start off with these 2 wrestlers going at each other. And after a certain amount of time, it's like a roulette. It's like, all right, who's going to be the one to get out and now join in the fray, right? So he got speared into one of these things, broke through the glass and everything. I'm like, dude, how is he doing it? And how is he selling it so well? It looked like that shit hurt. But I don't know. He's got that talent in him, which is fascinating. It is very fascinating to see. But yeah, for the most part, it was a pretty entertaining night. I know there was a lot of some backlash about it, and some expectations, I guess, weren't met, or some interesting reactions to certain people that I think some people weren't expecting as well. But it looks like for now we have a clear-cut idea of what to expect for WrestleMania. Yeah, Becky Lynch is going to be fighting against Rhea Ripley for the women's title. You have, of course, Cody Rhodes going against Seth Rollins. For now, they're going to work their way. They're going to find a way to work The Rock in there. They have to. And then you got Drew McIntyre. Look like he's going to go against Seth Rollins for that title. I've been saying for a while that I think they're going to find their way to weasel in a 3-way match. Or from what it looks like, we could potentially see a tag team with The Rock and Roman Reigns versus Cody and Seth Rollins. Because it's a 2-night event. So that be happening one night, and then another night could be just Cody and Roman, which is crazy. And maybe it's overkill. But if they write it correctly, I think it could work. Yeah, that's just my opinion. So yeah, so you had that on Saturday. And then it was also an interesting weekend. And again, I'm just talking about like at-home content because movie-wise, nothing huge came out. Unless you're like someone who's into indie films. One of the Coens, his movie came out that I'm going to actually watch today. I think that this is the calm before the storm, and the storm is Dune 2, which is happening this week. So movie-wise outside, it wasn't really worth anything watching. A lot of people were, I'm sure, binge watching Avatar on Netflix. And like I said, I'm halfway through it, so I'll give my thoughts about that on Wednesday. But Angry Video Game Nerd released his new episode for this new season. And his stuff has been really interesting. And yes, I still watch it. Believe it or not, I still do. And I don't really talk about it on the channel, but I think it's something I should start talking about because it is fascinating. And I think like many of us back in the day, AVGN inspired many people to go on YouTube and be YouTubers, right? And he is definitely like OG, one of the first real YouTubers on the platform. That's still around today, still committed to the same skit, which is hard for anyone. And that's one of the things that I've said when I started doing things on YouTube. It's like, I don't want to be known for a skit. Because the minute you are, and it works out, you cannot break out of it. There's no way you can break out of it. Because the minute you try to do something different, everyone starts to criticize you about it. And James Rolfe, who plays the angry video game nerd, he's seen it happen to himself. The minute he tries to break out of it, when he's doing his like regular movie reviews, when he's just trying to be himself, huge criticism. People are like, why are you doing this? This isn't funny. We want the nerd, blah, 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 blah. But I think James has gotten tired of it. You know, or maybe he's run out of ideas. And I think last season, if we're calling it seasons, right, we saw a great example of that because it was the first time that he didn't do many nerd episodes. He only did 6 all of last year. Only 6. He calls it season 17, Angry Video Game Nerd. He only did 6 episodes last year. And I think this is a result of just him being overworked, maybe not knowing what to do anymore, or taking a little step back so that he could get the passion again. And I think a lot of the fans out there were telling him to do that too. It's like, you don't have to do a new episode every month. You don't have to do a new episode every week. I mean, there were seasons of AVGN where it was just so many damn episodes that you could tell like the quality was drying up. And I feel like he is running out of ideas because last season he regurgitated a lot of content that he's done before. You know, in season 17, he brought back the whole Jekyll and Hyde thing again. Right? But this time he made it such an elaborate episode that I was like, if he did this the first time or maybe even the second time, then it would have been awesome. But he did a whole play in The Exorcist, how it was this one thing that keeps following him and haunting him, and he could never beat it. And he finally beat it for the first time. So it's like he exorcised the demons of the game so he doesn't have to bring it up anymore. And then because the new Indiana Jones movie came out last year too, he brought back the whole Indiana Jones thing. He tried to pretend like he was himself in the past, reviewing the Last Crusade games because he didn't do any of those. And then we fast forward, and then now he's his current self, coming across the dial of diarrhea. The humor too hasn't changed either. It's still the same type of humor where it's dick and fart jokes, diarrhea jokes, kind of like Beavis and Butthead, which is very similar to what I said when I watched the Ted series on Peacock. It's that same type of humor, but it still works a lot in today's society. Like, I know people who watch the new Beavis and Butthead and they still think it's hilarious, but it's the same humor, fart, and, diarrhea. So it's just interesting to see, and plus James just looks old now. He's losing his hair. He's still trying to wear the same getup. So I've been wondering for a while, like, what is he going to do with this character? But he's still trucking along. But I do feel like it's not as ill-willed as it was before. Like, don't get me wrong, the anger is still there. But I also do feel like it's like his episodes are now more nostalgic, reminiscing of his past and maybe his experiences in video games or playing certain games. The other thing that he does now outside of this that is more consistent on his channel, Cinemassacre, is now he plays games with his buddy. I guess his former neighbor, who he was childhood buddies with. And now they do like these kind of play-alongs. They reminisce about a certain game that they played when they were kids. And they play it now as adults. To kind of relive those moments. And to, I guess, in a way, say, was this game really good when we played it back then? Or how good are we on this game now? It's kind of sweet, kind of cute. His neighbor is kind of like another dopey kind of white Italian guy. He does this thing where I find so annoying where he constantly looks at the camera. Like they're supposed to be playing this game, and every time he reacts to something, he looks at the camera. Like, hey, did you get that? Did you see that? Kind of thing like that. You can tell he's not used to doing what James does, right? But it's a moment where we get to see James just trying to be James, but it's still kind of awkward in a way. So new season. This is season 18. New episode dropped over the weekend, and he's talking about the Goonies games on Nintendo. And the majority of the episode was just clips from the movie. So I feel like he's talking about these games because he loves the movie. He wants to reminisce about the movie. And this is like kind of his tribute to the movie. And of course, he's talking about the games, the Nintendo games themselves. The whole thing about in Japan, there was a Goonies 1 game that was a little bit more simple, more like a simple platformer type of game. And the Goonies 2 that we got here from Konami was this weird combo of platforming and first-person maze exploring. Whenever you go into the rooms. And I remember everything he talked about it was annoying, and it's true. Like, I remember playing that game back in the day, and I'm just like, where am I going here? Especially once you go into the first-person view for the mazes. It's like, I don't know direction anymore. It's like direction doesn't even matter. And he kind of plays on that in a very smart way. Again, what he's good at is putting forth everything that we were thinking. during those moments playing those games, and how frustrating and difficult it all was. But it was a very back to basics type of episode where at first I really thought he was going to go all full production because of how it started. You know, he was doing like his homage to the Goonies with clips here and there. He was showing, you know, the pirates on the ship. And then they were zooming in and it looked like one of the pirates was holding one of the NES cartridges. And then, you know, he had like a close up of the top loader and the Famicom, and everything's in cobwebs, and he yanks the games out, right? And then he just walks on over to his futon in the nerd room. And then that's it. It becomes now a back to basics type of episode. Now, which was fine for the most part. It was good. But I think with the amount of time that he takes now to do these episodes, I want him to feel encouraged to put more into it. Now that it looks like he's resigned to the fact that he's not going to do a new episode every month. He's not going to do a new episode every other week. He'll do a new episode when he feels like it or when it's ready, right? We only got 6 last season. I don't know how many we're going to get this time. But if you're going to take that time, then go in. You know, he's supposed to be a filmmaker. Put as much effort as you can into each episode. Make it worthy of a watch, because now you're having your fans wait in anticipation for when the next episode is coming. And if we get an episode like we got now, where it's like a very bare back to basics type of episode, then where's the fun in that? Yeah, there was some green screen in it, you know. But other than that, it was kind of, you know, kind of underwhelming, I guess. And I'm curious if the timing is also like kind of smart too, because no, it's not. Okay, so the Goonies, they're not approaching any major anniversary until next year. Next year will be its 40th anniversary of the movie. So I feel like that was poor planning too. Why not just save it for next year? Right? Where you could have done this big kind of explosive type of episode that really pays homage to not only the Goonies, but to the games that we grew up playing. You know, and maybe even talk about the fact that we never got another game like that. Like a modernized type of Goonies type of game. Which could work. I mean, if the way I think about it is, if you've ever played the game Grounded, that live game from Microsoft Studios, that's kind of Goonies-ish, right? It's kind of like a mix of Goonies and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. You know, they could have done something similar like that today. But Goonies is also a product of its time. You know, it's such an 80s movie that if you didn't grow up watching it and you try to watch it now, I won't be surprised if you hate it. I won't. I get it. I just remember watching it at the right time, at the right age. Came out in 85. So I was what, 7 when that movie came out? I saw it in the theater by myself. I was kind of like dropped off because my dad had to go do something, and I was there in the theater watching it, and I had a blast. The movie was so much fun. A lot of memorable characters, but it was a very 80s movie. You know, very innocent. You can't get away with a movie like that today. Most people will find it boring, you know? So yeah, so that came out. The latest Angry Video Game Nerd episode came out, and like I said, it was just okay. Again, I had a lot of chuckles in there, but I think I just want him to. I like him enough because, again, what he means to the internet and what he means to the culture of video game content on YouTube, especially retro gaming, which is my bag. But I want him to feel encouraged that he could make these into real major episodes if he's going to allow himself the time to not do as many. Kind of like, who's that guy? The gaming historian. I feel like now the gaming historian does what, 3 videos a year, it feels like. But each video that comes out, you are overwhelmed with how well that video is done. Not only the amount of research that's needed for a game like that, but he does put production work into it. You know, drawings to talk about situations, sometimes animations. You know, so the production value is really well done. And I don't know what the overall census is like on YouTube. And it's one of those questions that I asked myself all the time is what's more important to the viewer? The actual content or the production behind it? Does it matter based off of the type of content you're watching? Because I think I personally can forgive a video that may have very little production into it, but if the content itself is strong enough, then I'm good with that. I'll appreciate it. I've also seen the reverse, where the production value was so huge, but the content itself was, I felt, lacking, and I felt like I wasted my time watching it. You know, so I wonder what matters most to everybody. Is it the production work or is it the content itself? Yeah. And I think that's the mystery, the riddle that a lot of us content creators go through in trying to figure this stuff out. Yeah. So in Rolf's case, in AVGN's case, he can do both. Yeah. But what side is he leaning on towards most? I wonder. I guess we'll see. Season just started. This was just the first episode. The first episode from season 17 last year was Kid Icarus. But even that, I felt, had a little bit slightly more production. But it also started bare bones, too, of him just sitting on the couch like usual. It was later in the season we started getting the more production stuff. So maybe that'll be the case here, too. You know, time will tell. We'll see. But yeah, that was pretty much the gist of things that I watched over the weekend. Very interesting stuff. But like I said, today I'll be going to the movies to catch up on some movies right before the biggest movie event of the year so far with Dune 2. And we'll see what happens. And I'm curious as to what all of you did during your weekends. Let me know in the comments. I hope you all had a great weekend at the end of the day. And geared up and ready for Monday and this brand new week. All right. Let's talk box office. Box office time. It's box office time. Box office time. In your face. Talk about the numbers. Box office numbers. All right. This is a part of the stream on Mondays where we talk about the weekend box office. See what gelled well with everybody. Like I said, it was a very quiet one. Very quiet one because it is a calm before the storm. Before Dune 2 graces theaters this week. So let's look at the weekend box office here. So coming in at number 1, we have One Love, Bob Marley. And it second week out in theaters, coming in at number 1 with 13.5 million, 71.1 million overall. I believe that's domestic because internationally, worldwide, it broke over 100 million. So this movie for a February release is doing really well for itself. Really, really well. The reception has been good. You know, I already talked about it. I gave my review on it. I said it was, in my opinion, decent. It was definitely a feel-good biopic. Not the kind of biopic I was hoping for, but I think they played it safe. And I think for many people, it worked really well. You know, coming in at number 2 with the brand new Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yabai, to, oh my gosh, this is a long ass title. Hold on. To the Hashira Training. So, brand new movie from the Demon Slayer side of things there. These movies do really well every time they come out. As you can see, 11.4 million. I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe every time these movies come out, they're Fathom events. So they're like special limited engagement events from Fathom Entertainment. They do a lot of like those anime movie releases. They do a lot of those kind of anime retrospective releases. I believe they're also involved sometimes with Ghibli stuff. So no surprise that comes in at number 2 there for the weekend with 11.4 million. Ordinary Angels, I believe this is the new movie with Hilary Swank from Lionsgate. Also new, came out last week. Coming in third, 6.5 million. I'm not sure if I would call this a faith movie. Maybe I can just look up real quick what the movie is. Ordinary Angels. The only reason why I say that is because faith movies do really well. They do really well in theaters. So yes, it's Hilary Swank and Alan Richardson. It is filmed. Okay, you're not telling me. Inspired by the incredible true story of a hairdresser who single-handedly rallies an entire community to help a widowed father save the life of his critically ill young daughter. So yes, it is a faith movie. See, it's based on this true story about faith. And like I said, faith movies do extremely well in theaters. They really do. And this is a good example of that. I'm sure it's a movie not a lot of people heard about. And here it is, third over the weekend. Now, granted, it's a slow and quiet weekend, but it came in third. Madam Web, the darling of last week. Well, not really, but what a lot of people are talking about, came in fourth. It opened up at second and now dropped to fourth. 61% revenue drop with only 6 million from the weekend. Yeah, this was already a certified bomb before it even released in theaters. It was pretty much dead on arrival. So that's in fourth. And fifth, you got Migration, 3 million. Sixth, you got Argyle, 2.8 million. You still have Wonka in the top 10 after all this time. 2.4 million from the weekend. The other new movie, and this is the movie I was talking about, Drive Away Dolls, that I'm going to watch today. From, I believe it's Ethan Coen, 2.4 million. It's an indie movie, so I don't expect this movie to do well really in theaters. The Beekeeper, Jason Statham, 1.9 million. And to close things out in the top 10, The Chosen Season 4, episodes 4 and 6, 1.8 million. With Anyone But You, the most successful rom-com that we've gotten in some time. I say that because I believe it's about to break 200 million worldwide. They're in 11th with Sydney Sweeney and this dude. I always forget this guy's name. Glen Powell. Glen Powell. We'll be seeing a lot of Glen Powell this year. He's attached to a lot of movies coming out. You have the Linklater movie, Hitman. You have Twisters. I forget the other movies he's attached to, but yeah. I read an interesting interview he gave one outlet. And he said him and Sydney Sweeney, they're both working together to find their next movie they could do together. Maybe another rom-com. And I'm wondering if we're seeing the emergence of maybe a modern day Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. Because if you remember, Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan have done 3 rom-coms together. Sleepless in Seattle, You've Got Mail, and what was the other one? There was one other one. Oh, man. I am testing my movie trivia knowledge today. Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks. Oh, Joe versus the volcano. Yeah, that's another one. They did so many movies together. And for the most part, they were all very successful. And they were kind of like the on-screen couple for a very long time. So I'm wondering if we're seeing an emergence of Glen Powell and Sydney Sweeney being that modern day version of that. I won't be surprised, and at the same time, I won't be angry at that, because I think they have amazing chemistry together. And I think, given the right projects, I think they could be the nice modern day on-screen couple that we haven't seen in a very long time. I feel like that was a moment where you would see that stuff in the 80s and 90s. And like I said, Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan were like the perfect pair for that. Donna Reed, thank you for tuning in. Do you like Taylor Swift? Because I do. I respect her. I'm not a big fan of her music just because I was never really truly exposed to it. But of course, I know a lot of her songs. And I will say this. For a performer and entertainer, she is fantastic. And I think she is very respectful to her fans and appreciative. And I when Time made her Person of the Year last year, I was not surprised. She was a powerhouse in entertainment last year. And I did say this also before. The relationship that she has now with Kelsey and how it plays out, I think it's cute. I don't think it's annoying. And the way I see how she treats the relationship, I've said this before, I think she is a really great girlfriend. I think she's the kind of girlfriend that a lot of us would love to have. Very supportive. Big cheerleader. Yeah. So those are my thoughts on Taylor Swift. But I'm glad you're a huge fan. There are many of you out there. A lot of Swifties out there. The only criticism I do have of her is that she's trying to do the whole acting thing, and I don't think it's going to work. Because there is a huge difference between knowing how to act on stage, knowing how to act in music videos, and knowing how to act well on film. Now, maybe she just hasn't worked with the right director, but with the small amount of outings that she's had, I was not convinced that she could be a good actress. And I'm very critical about that with a lot of other musicians. Beyonce is another one, and Dua Lipa. So that's just my small criticism about Swift, but Tay. So I read that interesting thing about Glen Powell and Sydney Sweeney. And then there was this other thing that I read when it's about the box office. Oh, geez, I can't remember now. Oh, about Anyone But You, the rom-com, and how well it's doing. And someone posted a headline that said, "Rom-coms are back, baby." Slow down. Certain rom-coms work. We're not in the heyday of rom-coms like we were before. We're not going to see that anymore. How every time a rom-com would release in theaters that it's going to do gangbusters. We're not going to see that anymore. But certain ones will work. And I think if you have good chemistry between the two leads, especially when they gel really well with a certain generation, then those will work. Just like how comedy movies, very few and far in between. Especially the successful ones. So we are definitely in a different kind of realm now when it comes to movies and what people are choosing to spend their money on at the movies. And nothing is a surefire guarantee anymore. you know. So when I saw the headline, I was just like, all right, slow down, calm down. That's not, we're not there right now. So yeah, so that's the weekend box office. Now, of course, this weekend we have Dune 2, and it's going to be huge. I know it's going to be huge. And it's nice because when the first Dune came out, it still came out during a time when not a lot of people were returning to theaters yet. So it didn't do that well at the box office, and then they had like the quick release on Max. So this is going to be the first time that a Dune, this Dune movie from this current franchise will get a proper release. It had proper promotion from the entire cast. I feel like every time the cast was out there promoting this film, it became a fashion show. It was very well talked about. Everyone looks fantastic. I haven't seen a group of such good-looking people that's attached to a movie in a very long time. You know, this movie has a lot of people that at any given point in time I may have had a crush on, or I still have a crush on. A lot of people love people from this movie. You know, for me, it's like Rebecca Ferguson, Florence Pugh, Léa Seydoux. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And of course, you have Chalamet, Brolin, Javier Bardem. I mean, the cast is nuts. So this weekend, we're gonna see people rushing out to theaters to watch this movie, and they're not doing the same quick to max kind of thing here. This is gonna be exclusive in theaters for a while. So I'm gonna predict that it's probably gonna do like 90 million this weekend. I don't know what the projections are, but I feel very strongly that this movie is going to do 90 this weekend. It may do more, and I'm just talking to domestic, but I think it's going to do 90. Now, when the first movie came out, Dune Part 1, hold on. I want to do a quick comparison. Dune. Why is it giving me part 2? That's not what I was looking for. Stupid. Come on. Come on. Work with me here. Work with me. All right. Give me 1 second, guys. This site is not behaving. Not behaving. Here we go. Dune. Opening weekend. Let's see. So opening weekend, yeah. This was October of 2021. It came out on October 22nd. And it opened only to 41 million. Now remember, 2021, people were still not going to theaters yet. Yeah, this wasn't 2023 Barbenheimer time yet. So I really truly feel that we could see Dune Part 2 pull in 90 million. We'll see. We'll see come this time next Monday how much. But I do think it's going to do phenomenally this weekend. And I can't wait. I honestly cannot wait. I'm really, really, really looking forward to this movie coming out. Let me know if you are too in the comments. All right. Now, another thing that happened over the weekend is we had a bunch of awards. We had the SAG Awards, Screen Actors Guild, and it is significant because it is the actors awarding their fellow actors. And you can use this as a precursor to what we will be finally seeing at the Oscars this year. We also had the Spirit Awards, which celebrates independent film. So another big, highly regarded awards ceremony. There was the what was it? The PGA's Producers Guild of America Awards that also happened over the weekend. Tons of awards over the weekend. And I don't know how a lot of these people attend all these awards in such a short period of time. But we had all of that stuff happening. And I think it's very clear cut that Oppenheimer is set up to do really well come Oscar time. Because you have Oppenheimer has had major wins at the Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, PGA, DGA, Directors Guild of America, and SAG. BAFTA too, I guess, in a way. The British Film Awards. So they are on the road, I think, to a very good night come Oscar time. And I feel like other nominees and the wins that we've been seeing with them, like Lily Gladstone, Divine, I think that is already telling us what to expect come this award season. Or as we close out award season with the Oscars coming up. And this is the final week of Oscar voting too. So all of the Academy members who haven't voted yet, this is their last week they can do that. And I won't be surprised if the results from the weekend, from SAG, from PGA, very little from what we saw from Spirit, it's going to help determine what side they're going to go on when it comes to their own voting. So let's recap everything that happened at SAG, the full list of winners here. I'm going to change my screen up. Make sure everyone can read this. All right. So I'm only going to be talking about film because SAG, they also do award screen TV productions. So SAG, outstanding performance by a cast. So this is like an ensemble cast win and it went to Oppenheimer. In a way that's kind of like them awarding like movie of the year, right? In a way. So that went to Oppenheimer. Outstanding performance by male actor in a leading role. That's Cillian Murphy. See, and again, if you look at this list, it mimics exactly what we saw in the Oscar nominees. Bradley Cooper, Coleman Domingo, Paul Giamatti, Jeffrey Wright. I wonder if I could do something. Hold on. I'm going to show this because it's not something. Oh, there you go. You could see my cursor finally. Now I have a pointer. All right. Outstanding performance by a female actor in a leading role. That went to Lily Gladstone. And again, if you look here, mimics exactly the same nominee list that we see at the Oscars. Annette Bening, Carey Mulligan, Margot Robbie. Oh, with the exception of Margot Robbie. Margot Robbie was not nominated for her performance in Barbie. And we have Emma Stone here. Outstanding performance by a male actor in a supporting role. That went to Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer. The other nominees were Sterling K. Brown, Willem Dafoe, Robert De Niro, and Ryan Gosling. Outstanding performance by a female actor in a supporting role went to Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. Other nominees included Emily Blunt, Danielle Brooks, Penelope Cruz, and Jodie Foster. They award stunt ensembles. Outstanding action performance by a stunt ensemble in a motion picture went to Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, which surprises me because of how well received John Wick Chapter 4 was, and that is a movie basically made by stunt people. The director was a stunt coordinator. Other nominees are Barbie, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So very interesting outcomes here And like I said, it seems like we're hearing the same names over and over and over again. Now there were years in the past where we had similar situations where we would hear names repeated as winners in awards shows, and then the Oscar surprises us. But it doesn't happen often. I think at this point we know exactly. I think it's been the stage has been set. Everything has been solidified. I think we know who is going to be walking away with an Oscar this year. And if there are any surprises, it will be a surprise. And it will be talked about as a snub or a shocker. You know. Well, since we're here, let's just look at television real quick. Outstanding performance ensemble cast for drama went to Succession. No surprise there. Outstanding performance ensemble for comedy went to The Bear. Again, The Bear, Succession, Bear, and Beef. Those are the main TV programs I hear constantly talked about. Outstanding performance by male actor in the drama series went to Pedro Pascal for The Last of Us. I read some of his speech. I thought it was kind of funny because he was actually drunk, and he admitted that he was drunk. So I thought that was pretty hilarious. Pedro, how can you not love that guy? Outstanding performance by female actor in drama series went to Elizabeth Debicki for The Crown. Outstanding performance by male actor in a comedy series went to Jeremy Allen White for The Bear. Female actor in a comedy series, Ayo Edebiri. Outstanding performance by male actor in a television movie or limited series went to Steven Yeun for Beef. See, told you, Beef. Outstanding performance by a female actor, television movie, or limited series went to Ali Wong for Beef. Again, Beef, major winner from last year. Outstanding action performance by stunt ensemble on TV, Last of Us. So there you go. Good winners out of this whole bunch there. Let's move on to the Spirit Awards. So like I said, Spirit Awards celebrates more of like the indie side of Hollywood. But there are some things that are worth mentioning here. Let's see. I just want... See, they don't list it out here at the Hollywood Reporter, which is very annoying. I hate that they don't do that. Hold on. Let me see if I could find just something quick to recap it. List of Spirit Award winners. Variety. Well, thank you, Variety, for making it easy for all of us. And the reason why I also wanted to talk about Spirit Awards is because if you've seen me talk about the movies from last year, if you've seen me talk about who I thought deserved nominations, recognition, one of my favorite movies from last year was Past Lives. One of my favorite performances from movies was from Greta Lee in Past Lives. You know, and I was a little disappointed that Past Lives wasn't getting recognized enough. But I think the Spirit Awards made sure to recognize them big time. Best Feature went to Past Lives. You know, which is fantastic. I was so happy when I saw this. And in the indie world, the Spirit Awards are like their Oscars. It really means a lot for a lot of these creators. So I'm so happy Past Lives won Best Feature for the Spirit Awards. And you could see the other ones nominated here. All of Us Strangers, American Fiction, May December, Passages, We Grow Now. Best Lead Performance went to Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. Other nominees here were Jessica Chastain, Greta Lee, Trace Lysette, Natalie Portman, Judy Reyes, Franz Rogowski, Andrew Scott, Tiana Taylor, Teo Yo. You know, Jeffrey Wright had this nice speech where he mentioned that a lot of studios passed on American Fiction. They didn't want to fund it. They didn't want to distribute it. You know, and I'm sure they all have egg on their faces right now. Best Director went to Celine Song.
Yeah!
for Past Lives. So happy when I heard about this. I was so happy. So well deserved. Especially, again, this is her debut film. For a first timer to put out a movie as powerful and as great as this, oh, I loved it. Other nominees here: Andrew High, Todd Haynes, William Oldroyd, Ira Sachs. Someone to Watch Award went to Monica Sorrell, director of Mountains. That is like up and coming director, you know. Truer Than Fiction Award went to Seth Hernandez. I don't know what that award is for, really. Best First Feature award that's given to both director and producer, and that went to 1001. I haven't seen that movie. You know. Robert Altman Award given to one film's director, casting director, and ensemble cast, and that went to Showing Up. I don't know this movie, haven't seen it. Producers Award went to Monique Walton. Best Breakthrough Performance went to Dominic Sessa for The Holdovers, which also made me happy because in that movie, when I did my review on that movie, he was a major standout for me. And then when I found out that that was his first movie, I was like, what? For someone who's never been in a movie before to have a performance like he had in The Holdovers, I was blown away. So well done. John Cassavetes Award given to the best feature made for under $1 million went to Fremont. Haven't seen that. Best cinematography went to The Holdovers. Best editing went to How to Blow Up a Pipeline. Best new scripted series went to Beef. Again, Beef with another win. Best lead performance in a new scripted series went to Ali Wong, Beef. Ali Wong and Steven Yeun has had an amazing award season. You know, who would have known? And I'm so happy for them. Really, really happy for them. Best new non-scripted or documentary series went to Dear Mama. Hey Mama. Ba-da-dun, da-da-dun, da-da-dun, da-da-dun. Hey Mama.
Wow.
Kanye. Best ensemble cast in new scripted series went to Jury Duty. Best screenplay went to Cord Jefferson for American Fiction. Best first screenplay went to Sammy Birch for May December. Now, this is something that I wanted to take a look at here because when I was at New York Film Festival and I was covering that, you know, this was during the actors strike. So when they had the press Q&A for May December, you know, unfortunately, Natalie Portman wasn't there. But when Sammy Birch hit the stage, everyone went nuts. People love Sammy. And, you know, I thought May December was a very well done movie. And in my mind, I was thinking, like, if it's ever going to get recognized at all at the Oscars, I thought, if anything, maybe we would have seen a nomination for Heather Graham for supporting actress. We didn't get that. But May December was nominated for screenplay, if I am to remember correctly. Hold on. Yeah. Original screenplay. Sammy Birch. So I wanted to really focus on this and highlight this, especially when you have best screenplay and best first screenplay, American Fiction and May December. So I think we're looking at the two contenders for original screenplay, or at least in their respective categories, because I think American Fiction was based off of a book, so that's going to be adapted, right? And original will be May December. So I think For me, who pays attention a lot to the award season and to the Oscar race, this tells me a lot right here. So something to look out for. Then Best International Film went to Anatomy of a Fall, director Justine Triet. But as we all know, Anatomy of a Fall was not nominated for international film because France didn't use that as the option. Zone of Interest was part of the nominees here. Zone of Interest won big at the BAFTAs. So maybe something to pay attention to. I don't know. Best Breakthrough Performance in a New Scripted Series went to Kayvon Montreal Woodard for The Last of Us. Best Documentary went to Four Daughters. Then you look at it, who else was nominated here. Interesting. Best Supporting Performance in a New Scripted Series went to Nick Offerman for The Last of Us. Very happy that he won that. That was such a powerful, powerful performance from Nick in that show. Best Supporting Performance, Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. She is also having a fantastic award season. I am so happy for her. So happy for her. And that's it. So that was at least the 2 awards ceremonies that I wanted to highlight from the weekend. SAG, Spirit. Like I said before, there was the PGAs also, the producers. Oppenheimer won big during that. But when it comes to producers, also, like, they're the money guys. So I usually don't like to pay too much attention to them. But without them, to be fair, without them, movies wouldn't be able to be made. So got to highlight them in a little way, right? So like I said before, I think it's clear cut that the roadmap for the Oscars have already been set in stone. I think we kind of already know what to expect from this season, from this award season, from the Oscars. This week, if things work out right, Blake and I were going to be filling out our Oscar ballots. We usually make a special episode of Movie Time for that. So make sure you are subscribed to the Movie Time podcast. We haven't had a new episode in a while because of scheduling and other things. I'm trying to rework the podcast side of things on my end. So I'll make an announcement about that. So stay tuned for that stuff. But we never miss a year where we talk about our Oscar ballots and kind of like our predictions. So stay tuned for that. But I think right now it's kind of obvious, like, what we are to expect when it comes to the Oscars this year. So I don't know if that means it's going to be a boring one, but still, nonetheless, it's still fun to watch and participate in. All right. Now, let's talk headlines. Headlines in your face. This is the moment of the stream where we talk about the latest in headlines when it comes to movies, pop culture, at times video games, and we will talk about video games today because I wasn't able to really talk about video games last week or over the weekend. A lot of Spider-Man Across the Universe tidbits came out over the weekend, which is interesting. I wonder why now. And maybe because we are approaching the Oscars, so I feel like a lot of info has been released about things. And Across the SpiderVerse is nominated for Best Animated Feature. And I think it's between them and Hayao Miyazaki's Boy and the Heron. Those are the 2 main contenders in that category. I'm still indecisive on what my pick is going to be for the winner in that category. You're just going to have to stay tuned to that special Oscar ballots episode to hear my thoughts. But Collider put out an article with a lot of these revelations about Across the Spider-Verse. One of which was Donald Glover's cameo. The cameo he had in Across the Spider-Verse. Spoiler if you haven't seen it yet. Sorry. But his cameo was filmed only weeks before the film was released. Mainly because he hasn't agreed to do it yet when they were filming. So, in a preview, before he filmed his scene, what they were planning to do is that they were planning to do kind of like a South Park version of his character. So you would have seen like round head, all that, and it's the Prowler, but it looks like Donald Glover. So in a way, that was like a fill-in. But that's where things would have gone if Donald Glover didn't decide to come in and film those scenes for his live action appearance in Across the Spider-Verse. You know, which I thought what is fascinating to hear, because when the movie came out last year, the topic of time crunch and how a lot of the animators and everyone involved in the film were working literally till the day before release in making sure everything was completed for that movie. And there was a lot of debate and back and forth about overtime, working people to death, all those things. So that's why I find it funny on how many things that we talked about from the movie, highlights, were only just included weeks or a week prior to the film's release. It's really, really crazy when you think about it. So his part was only filmed weeks before the film was released. The final scene of Gwen in Across the Spider-Verse was only added 6 weeks before the film wrapped. So that whole kind of hopeful, I'm getting the team back together kind of ending, we're gonna go save Miles, that was not part of the original ending. The original ending was basically, as it says here, was Miles on the punching bag with that reveal that he is now looking at his alternate version of himself, who's now a bad guy. And it hung on that type of cliffhanger. And according to this article, everyone booed it. Everyone's just like, hell no, don't end the movie like that. For me, I get it. It's kind of like, what the fuck? You're going to leave me hanging like that? So I think with the addition of the whole Gwen, like rallying the troops, the hopefulness of what's to come, and the expectation of what's to come for the next film, that was your proper Empire Strikes Back ending. Because if you remember at the end of Empire, everything went wrong. Han got frozen in carbonite. Luke got his hand chopped off. Found out Vader is his dad. The rebellion is looking bleak. But we still had that moment of hope. Luke got a robotic hand. They're formulating a plan to rescue Han. And at the same time, they're also formulating a plan on what are we going to do with the Empire. And you fade away, but you zoom out and you see all the ships together in one space. Rallying the troops. We're going to do this. We're going to make it happen. You leave off on that type of cliffhanger, it gives you a little bit of hope and high expectations for the next film to come. So it makes perfect sense that they added that type of ending instead of the Miles just like, oh my God, what's happening? And then, that's your father, not mine. And imagine just cutting it like that. Damn, bleak. So very interesting to find out about that. Miguel was intentionally meant to be a thirst trap in Across the Spider-Verse. What? A thirst trap? Say word. I thought that was really fascinating. I'm here on the Collider website because they did an exclusive Q&A, right? So just want to quickly read that part. So yeah, they talk about how The Empire Strikes Back. Oh, look at that! See, The Empire Strikes Back inspired a new ending, which scenes meant to most of them, spending 2 years on the consular scene, and reveal that Miguel O'Hara was designed to be a thirst trap. And then there was like a little interview back and forth about all that stuff. So here you go. Let's go to the Miguel O'Hara thirst trap section here. If there is one, there should be one. There you go. Miguel was an intentional thirst trap in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. What was the biggest surprise in terms of fan reactions to the film? They said Miguel's butt. I've got to push back on that. I actually feel a little offended because I put myself in charge of making Miguel the thirst trap. From day one, I said, I'm on butt duty. I want to make sure his butt is as tight as possible. I want close-ups. I want to get the camera there, and I want him to turn. I want his back to the camera when we first introduce him so you can really appreciate it. So I guess he is Spider's butt. If Captain America is America's butt, Miguel's butt is the Spider-Verse's butt. He is the butt of the Spider-Verse. So there you go. So yeah, so those were a lot of interesting tidbits when it comes to Across the Spider-Verse that came out over the weekend. And I like when they do things like that because a lot of these things you don't really know until you hear people talking about it. They're inspirations about things, right? So it's for me, it's always fun hearing those little tidbits of information. All right. There's this interesting article I read, or I at least saw the headlines for, on Dark Horizons here that says, researchers create a super DVD disc. Again, we talk about physical media a lot here because I'm a huge fan of physical media. I think it's important. I will always support physical media no matter what. But then when I heard super DVD, what can be bigger than Blu-ray? Well, and with a format that's dying, why would people spend time on creating a new version of the said dying format? Well, apparently people are still working on it. So here in this article, DVD is dead, long live super DVD. According to a new article in Nature magazine, Chinese researchers have been able to create a DVD-like disc with hundreds of layers, extending the disc capacity to the petabit level. Petabit! Researchers at the University of Shanghai for Science and Technology published their results a few days ago. Using a 54 nanometer laser, the team managed to record hundreds of layers of data onto an optical disc, with each tier of the three-dimensional stack separated by just 1 micrometer. We're getting very nerdy here, people. Strap in. The result is an optical data storage, ODS, solution of DVD size with a capacity of 1.6 petabits, which translates to approximately 200 terabytes. Think about that. 200 terabytes or 200,000 gigabytes. Wow. On a disc. The article continues. To put that in perspective, a regular DVD holds just 4.7 gigabytes on a single layer. A Blu-ray is 25 gigabytes single layer, or 50 if it's dual layer. And a 4K ultra high def disc, maxes out with a multi-layered disc of 100 gigabytes. So a film like Blade Runner 2049 on Ultra HD clocks in at a file size of around 70 gigs. But this new disc, 200 terabytes. This would mean a single disc capable of holding thousands of 4K feature-length movies. Such technology is being seen as a potential game changer for archivists and large data centers. The advancements also comes at a time when retailers are either scaling back or outright doing away with their physical media offerings. Now, I'm not going to say that this is going to bring back physical media. Far from it. I do agree with the article here. This could really be beneficial for data centers, cloud backup services, people at home who like to back up their data. I don't think this is going to mean a lot for the movie industry. Maybe the gaming industry, if the gaming industry will still support physical media. Just think about how much more they can hold on a singular disc. But I think the technology in itself is fascinating. And that's why it caught my eye. What's up, Star-Lord in the house? Star-Lord in the house. Star-Lord in the house. Star-Lord in the house. Star-Lord in the house.
Yeah!
Star-Lord in the house. Let's go.
I'm gonna come. You blew it! Wow.
What's going on, man? Nice seeing you here. Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. So that is the article on the Super DVD. I wonder what it would cost. Because I haven't looked into buying like burnable discs in a while. I remember when you were able to burn your own CDs at home, how expensive it was at first, and then it became so affordable after a while. I believe a spindle of like 50 burnable CDs cost at one point $15. You know, and then Blu-ray was the next thing. Oh no, you had DVDs, burnable DVDs. That was also very expensive and then became affordable. Then you had Blu-rays that you could do. I don't know how much they go for nowadays because it's not something I've done recently. So I wonder how much something like that would cost, because I'm sure that would be quite a bit of quiche to dole out. You know what I'm saying? 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 Okay. Vin Diesel yapping his trap, talking about the next Fast and Furious. And Diesel confirms that Fast 11 is a grand finale. Will it be true? We don't know. Could be. But here we are. The lead up to Fast X. It was marketed as the first of two-part finales to the franchise. Around release time, actor Vin Diesel, in his usual aggrandizing way, in press interviews, teased that Universal was considering turning it into a three-parter. Now, in a new message on Instagram, the actor has made it clear that the upcoming Fast 11, or Fast X Part 2, will definitely be the end of the road. Here's his statement. Just finished our end of the week Fast meeting with the writers and the whole team. To say the excitement for our finale was incredibly powerful is an understatement. Wow, so exciting. While everyone was heading into the weekend amped and excited, I thought of you all. Vin Diesel is thinking of us all, thinking of us, the audience, us, the fans. reminded of the countless moments when your enthusiasm and passion became the driving force, no pun intended, behind our creative journey. Our commitment to our saga has had a unique impact on its success and evolution. As my youngest daughter would say, it's profound. Thank you for being the backbone of this global saga that, because of you, all of you out there in movie world, all of you, transcends the screen. This grand finale is not just an ending, it's a celebration. It's a celebration.
Yeah!
Of the incredible family, all about family, we've built together. Thank you, Daddy Diesel. The news also marks the first public update on the film in months, and the first following Diesel's former assistant suing him for sexual battery in December. So there you go. I love how that article had to just leave that one little zinger in there. I think that's hilarious. Good job. So yeah, that's that. Other news from the weekend caught my eye. And again, this kind of makes sense and the timing is kind of perfect. With the release of Avatar: The Last Airbender on Netflix. You couldn't have timed this any better. To be completely honest with you. But it now appears that there is a Naruto movie in the works. Star-Lord, it's so old, instead of furious, it's now fast and the mild temper. Or it should be fast and the mild case of some bodily dysfunction. Because everyone is pretty much geriatric at this point. Yeah. The mild case of diarrhea or something. I don't know. Or the fast and the furious hemorrhoids. Anyway, I'll stop right there. So yeah. So it was announced that Lionsgate is behind an adaptation of Naruto. And they have a director already in mind who is also going to be doing the writing. And that is You blew
it!
Destin Daniel Cretton. And if you don't know who he is, he's the guy that directed Shang-Chi. And like I said, the timing for this announcement is perfect. Because I'm halfway through Avatar on Netflix. And I will say one of the things that popped into my head was this could be a potential roadmap or outlook or outline. That's the word. This could be a potential outline of how they may handle a Naruto series, live action series. But it's a movie. So let's read about this. It's on The Hollywood Reporter. Fast and Viagra Furious. The Fast and the Furious 4-hour erection.
Wow. I'm gonna come.
All right. So, Naruto movie in the works with Destin Daniel Cretton writing and directing. Lionsgate behind it. All right. Naruto, one of the most popular mangas of all time, is headed to the big screen. Destin Daniel Cretton, who co-wrote and directed the Marvel Studios movie Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, has been tapped to pen and helm a live-action adaptation of the title for Lionsgate. Cretton will also produce alongside Jae-yoon Munford through his company Hisako. The duo joined Avi Arad. No! Not Avi Arad and Ari Arad and MEU of Arad Productions, who are behind the studio's upcoming video game adaptation of Borderlands and Jerry Latcham Dungeons and Dragons. Wow. That took the wind out of my sails right there. Again, I've mentioned this already before in the past. Avi Arad is one of those interesting producers that he doesn't necessarily have the golden touch. Yeah, yes, he was attached to some things that were successful, but he was also attached to a lot of things that were like franchise ruining. So take that all with a grain of salt. It's still fast, but equivalent of a wheelchair pushed down a hill. Or like in that movie Gremlins, remember the old lady Deagle? She had that thing that would carry her up and down the stairs, and then when the gremlins like fiddled around with it, it like shot her out like a rocket. That's what we're going to be seeing from the new Fast and Furious. Diesel's going to be on that thing. It's like, it's all about family. I live my life quarter mile at a time. Whee! Out the window. Catch me, Momoa. All right. Created by Masashi Kishimoto, Naruto was a coming-of-age story focused on a young and enthusiastic ninja named Naruto Uzumaki, who wants to grow up. Okay, you're telling what? Yeah, okay, we know the story. In that time, it became one of the world's most popular intellectual properties with over 250 million copies of collected volumes sold in more than 60 countries. It also launched several animated series that ran for years on Cartoon Network, Disney XD, Adult Swim, and other networks. It has been adapted into video game form and continues to be merchandising juggernaut. Not only to mention that it was one of the best running anime series in Japan, and they've done stage and musical productions of the property as well in Japan too. Cretton has Kishimoto's blessing, something bestowed upon him after a visit to Tokyo. When I heard of Destin's attachment, it happened to be right after watching a blockbuster action film of his, and I thought he would be the perfect director for Naruto, said Kishimoto in a statement. After enjoying his other films and understanding that his forte is in creating solid dramas about people, I became convinced that there is no other director for Naruto. And actually meeting Destin, I also found him to be an open-minded director who was willing to embrace my input and felt strongly that we would be able to cooperate together in the production process. The adaptation has been in development with Lionsgate since late 2015, and Cretton's boarding marks a significant leap forward in getting it to the screen. Then we have, let's see, a quote here from an enthused group chair of Lionsgate, Adam Fogelson. This manga classic is beloved by millions of fans all around the world, and Destin has delivered a vision for the movie that we believe will excite that massive fan base as well as those who are new to it. Avi and I had the pleasure of working together before, and I know that as we collaborate with Destin and team on Naruto, we are in extraordinary hands. Cretton previously collaborated with Lionsgate on The Glass Castle, 2017 drama, starring Brie Larson. Studios' James Myers, who oversaw that project, will also oversee Naruto alongside executive John Humphrey. Cretton, who counts award winner Short Term 12 and Just Mercy among his credits, is currently developing a sequel to Shang-Chi. He last directed several episodes of American Born Chinese. There you go. Who's excited for this? I am, but cautiously. I'm adding caution in there. Before I continue my thoughts, Star-Lord 7. Michelle Rodriguez was awesome in Dungeons & Dragons, and I hope they make a sequel. And Chris Pine. I agree. Dungeons & Dragons was one of those like underrated hits from last year. I went into that movie not expecting a damn thing, left thoroughly surprised and entertained. And it's unfortunate it didn't do so well in the theaters, but I'm hoping it did well digitally and on DVD, Blu-ray, to warrant a sequel. Because if I remember correctly, they either just made their budget or they were slightly under it. But I recommended the films to like a lot of my friends, and they all came back to me with the same thing. You were right. This movie was fun. This movie was great. Yeah, and it was, because they respected the property of Dungeons and Dragons, right? And they made their own story within that lore, within the rule set already in that world. And they did it right. They didn't try too hard. You know, they just kept in mind this is the rule set in this universe, and they paid proper respect to it all. Leaving enough hints and tidbits and Easter eggs for the most seasoned Dungeons and Dragons player, while not alienating someone who's never played the game. You know? So I thought it was really, really, really well done. Now, when it comes to Naruto, first of all, this is a major story. And this is going to be huge for a lot of people. Very much the same way a lot of people are geeking out over One Piece, the live action coming out on Netflix, just like what they did with Avatar coming out on Netflix. Now, I don't know what the fan reviews have been, because I've only seen some of the critics, and it looked like it was a mixed bag for the most part. Again, I will give my thoughts after I finish my binge of it. Stay tuned Wednesday morning. That's when I'll give my review. But I know the fan base of Naruto is huge and hungry. They want to see more of this content. So much so that Boruto series is still strong. You know, which is the son of Naruto. Right? That's still out there going on strong. But the original series, and I never read the manga, but I've watched the anime. It's huge. There's a lot going on. Now, are they hoping to turn this into a franchise where they're going to have multiple movies? Maybe. You know, in a way, it's very similar to Dragon Ball, because they all steal ideas and story bits from Journey into the West. But this also has a little flavor that a lot of Harry Potter fans can recognize. Because you have your factions, kind of like schools, and they're all training to do stuff. And then eventually there is a common threat that they all have to fight against. So you have a lot of those same similarities that we've already seen and work well. So if they keep that all in mind, then I think they have something here. And I do like Destin. I do like Destin because I thought Shang-Chi was a good movie. I thought he did a really good job with that movie. American Born Chinese, very underrated series, which I still have yet to finish. I feel very embarrassed. I'm sorry. I have failed.
You blew it!
But people I know who've seen it said it was a really good show, really good series. And I'm glad to hear that because I loved the graphic novel. And it sounds to me like he's good at adapting these type of properties for the big screen. That's what it's looking like. That's how it's looking like overall. My only concern is Avi Arad. He's been known to meddle a little bit too much. And, you know, Destin, now that he's had experience working with Marvel Studios and Disney, I think he kind of knows how to work with a studio system that may have input here and there. But I'm hoping that he has the strength and strategy to also push back and to really try his best to do his own thing. Because I think if you let him do his own thing, I think he's going to do well. But you know, as a studio, I get it. You also do have to kind of corral sometimes the creative. But Avi's interference in the past sometimes were very detrimental. You know, we hear it all the time where studio interference ruins a movie. And I feel like a lot of Avi's projects in the past ended up with that same type of result. So I am cautiously optimistic about this. Personally, I think it would have done better as a series. You know, I don't understand why they feel the need to have to skip that and just make a full feature film. I get it. The potential to make money is much higher, but the potential to lose money is just equally as high, if not higher than that. So, my opinion, probably would have done better if it was a series. But since they are thinking of doing a movie, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. And I'm cautiously optimistic. I am excited. I'm curious to see how it's going to turn out, but we'll see. And I do like the fact that he has the blessings of the original creator. Yeah, it looks like they're going to be working together, and hopefully that continues, because like what I've read about Avatar, the original creators were on board for that too, and then they left. For reasons I'm not clear on yet. I will read more about that once I'm done with the show so that I can do my research on it. So yeah, let me know if you are a Naruto fan, if you're excited for this, if you're like me. You know, I think this is going to be big news. And we'll see timing wise when it's expected to come out. But I think the announcement, the timing of it is perfect because, like I said, watching the Avatar live action series, I can see it. I can see the outline of if they were to do kind of like a live action Naruto series. I can see them saying, all right, this is how it's going to work. A little bit like this, a little bit like that. So we'll see what happens. Lionsgate has been very busy because they are also apparently working on a modern remake of American Psycho. American Psycho was that movie starring Christian Bale. It basically brought Christian Bale to the masses in that movie. Yeah. Serial killer dressed as, he's a businessman, but does he sell insurance, or was it stocks or something like that? But very interesting storyline. I believe it was based on a book. But they are apparently working on a modern day remake of it. Does it need one? I don't think so. But again, when we talk about remakes and reboots, it's all to appeal to a younger generation. Introduce something like this to a younger generation. See if it sticks. And if they have something, eventually turn it into a franchise. I personally think the original movie with Christian Bale was a great one and done. You don't need to go back to that world. But who knows? I'm curious if it's going to be a modern remake. Like Christian Bale's character was addicted to Huey Lewis in the news. Who is this main character going to be addicted to? Dua Lipa? Taylor Swift? Oh, could you imagine if this guy or girl, could be one or the other, is addicted to Tay-Tay, is a Swiftie, and, well, I don't think she would allow herself to be associated with a movie like that. But I think it's brilliant. It writes itself, to be honest with you. Star-Lord said, I was a fan when they were threatening to Naruto and storm Area 50. Where they're all going to do the Naruto run to Area 51. I remember, what was it? They were doing like a live broadcast, right? And they had that one guy running in the back doing the Naruto run, right? Oh man, and then someone turned that into a crazy meme where, he did the was that jujitsu that he clones himself and you just got a bunch of those guys running. That was freaking hilarious. That's funny. All right. Another big article that came out over the weekend involved James Gunn. James Gunn, he's very busy with his new job over there at Warner Brothers Discovery with DC. They were all yelling, "Clap them cheeks." That's right. Yeah, that was really, really funny. But yeah, James Gunn busy with the DC side of things, and we already know what he's working on, but apparently there's still more stuff he's doing. So I'm here again back on Dark Horizons. Gunn producing DC Jurassic League film. DC Studios and Warner Brothers Animation are reportedly developing a currently untitled film based on the 2022 six-issue limited comic series, The Jurassic League, according to the Insider, that is Jeff Snyder. The story unfolds on a prehistoric version of Earth from an alternate reality where the characters of DC Comics are anthropomorphic dinosaurs. On this world, Superman is a Brachiosaurus, Batman is an Allosaurus, and Wonder Woman is a Triceratops. I'm sorry. This just this this just sounds really, really crazy. Daniel Warren Johnson and Juan Gedeon created the comic. The series was met with a positive response, with comparisons drawn to the likes of Primal and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in its influences. James Gunn and Peter Safran will reportedly produce this feature, which likely won't be named Jurassic League to avoid brand confusion. Minions writer and the Lego Batman movie producer Brian Lynch will write the film, which marks the second Warner Brothers animation title for the new DC Studios, the first being Gunn's own Creature Commandos series debuting later this year. Wow. Star-Lord 2019, what a time. Oh yeah. A time where we had no idea what the future was really going to truly hold for us. And we got slapped in the damn mouth. That's why I feel like 2019 was the last year we were all kind of like whatever, like whatever. It is what it is. YOLO. And then bam. Slap right in the jugular.
Fuck off!
Sorry. All right, Jurassic League. Let's go back and look at this photo here. So this is like the Batman from that. So yeah, I get it. Primal. If you don't know what Primal is, that is a video game series that was created. It's kind of like Mortal Kombat style. But instead of people, you're dinosaurs fighting each other. Of course, you all know Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at this point. I don't need to explain that all to you. But this is just bizarre, man. This is really, really bizarre. And I know James Gunn is good at bizarre. I know that. But this is really bizarre. Now, it's animation, so that's fine. I think it will do well. I think it will be interesting to watch. I'm sure a lot of people will enjoy it. But it is weird. It is really weird. But I like the fact that they are taking risk and they're doing things a little differently. Yeah, and I think when it comes to animation, I feel like you could do a little bit more, go a little above and beyond, and work with different things. So it is very interesting. It is not obviously a title or a property you would hear and most people talk about. But it's James Gunn. So you're like, all right. I think at this point, people should just sit down, go through the entire DC Comics library or history, and just pick out all the weirdest shit that they have. And I guarantee you James Gunn will touch it. Because that's just what he does. He's good at weird. And it works for him. And this is just another case of that. So we'll see what happens when this movie comes out. It'll be interesting to see. They were crawling under the gate fence off to the side, stealing things right where the guards were nearby. Oh, are we still talking about Area 51? The crazy group invasion of Area 51. All right. Another bit of news, and again, nice little hint of nostalgia on this one, is that Sony is bidding on a film based on the Cola Wars. Back here in Dark Horizon, Sony makes bid for Cola Wars film. Sony Pictures has made a $1.5 million bid for Cola Wars, a film in the works about the 1980s and 90s event of the same name as Pepsi attempts to challenge Coca-Cola. Century-long reign as the world's top cola. The longtime rivalry between soft drink producers, the Coca-Cola Company and PepsiCo, saw them engaging in mutually targeted marketing campaigns directly competing over their product lines. This was especially true of their flagship colas, Coca-Cola and Pepsi. From the late 70s into the 80s, the fierceness of the competition escalated until it got to the Cola Wars name. Memorable events included the incident when Michael Jackson's hair caught on fire, filming a Pepsi commercial, the successful launch of Diet Coke, and infamous failed launch of New Coke. Remember New Coke? I remember New Coke. New Coke tasted more like Pepsi, I think, if I remember correctly, because they wanted to make it more sweet. Those dubious Pepsi challenges commercials and the popular Pepsi Stuff merchandise program. Let's not forget Pepsi Clear. All right, let's not forget that. Yeah, the crystal clear Pepsi, right? That was another big thing. But of course, the Pepsi challenge, right? Where they had those people, testing all the different colas. And it's like, oh, you chose Pepsi. Da da da. Jason Schumann of Winning Time and Acapulco, and Ben Queen of Cars 2 and Powerless are writing the script, which will offer a behind-the-scenes account of the corporate conflict. Schumann is a Pepsi guy, Queen a Coke man. So yeah, I know what a lot of you are going to say. It's like, really? Oh, see, like Starlight right here. Why make a movie of Coke versus Pepsi? Really? Yeah, I get it. It sounds really stupid. But if you put the focus on the corporate people behind it, the mad dash of them trying to figure out how we're going to do this, how we're going to do that, make it in the style very similar to like a Vice or BlackBerry or Jobs. And all we see is the behind the scenes stuff. I think it could work. With the right script, no, I think it's going to work. Oh, Mexican Coke always wins. Always. Mexican Coke has crack in it. That's why you can only get it in small, tiny bottles, because if they sold us too much of it, it would be illegal. Bottom line, that's it. True story. Yeah, they use Coke as healing properties. Just like how when Guinness first came out, they said that it was supposed to help cure cancer. Yeah, I remember when Coke first came out. Well, I wasn't alive back then, but they sold it at pharmacies, didn't they? It was supposed to help with your stomach ailments. It's because Coke, from what they say, originally had a little bit of crack in there. A little bit of the cocaine. Cocaine.
Yeah!
And that's why Mexican Coke is so good, because it still has that. That's why you're only allowed to buy little tiny bottles of it. Anything more than that will be illegal. But yeah, I mean, again, going back to this story, I think if they focus really on the behind the scenes, the business side of it, the mad marketing promotions, the craziness, there's some spying involved, insider trading and knowledge. If they focus on a lot of that stuff, I think that movie can turn out well. Make it a comedy. Make it a flat out comedy. It'll work. Dumb Money. We got that movie last year, Dumb Money, about the GameStop stocks, right? Excuse me. Crazy story, true story. You know, but if you retell it in like a comedic kind of way, entertaining kind of way, it makes for a great movie. And I think they could really do something with that script. So we'll see what happens. Then Boston George came around and really bought the cocaine world. Yes. Cocaina, la cocaina.
You blew it!
Well, you sniffed it, and then you probably blew it. Anyway. You know what? Let's talk about video game stuff. Like I said, didn't get a chance to do this last week. Didn't get to do it over the weekend. We'll end up the morning. We'll round it up talking about video game related news. All right. First one here. Last week, how many people were aware that that new Ubisoft game, Skull and Bones, came out? Anyone? Anyone? I don't have a crickets thing, or else I'd be playing cricket, cricket, cricket. If that's the kind of reaction that you gave or you thought about, then this headline should not surprise you. Not many sailing to Skull and Bones. Ubisoft released a long in the works. When they say long in the works, this has been in the works for a very long time. I remember seeing trailers for this 4 years ago, maybe. Anyway, Ubisoft released a long in the works multiplayer sailing game, Skull and Bones, just over a week ago, and the results have been anything but impressive. Upon launch, the game sailed to mixed poor critical reviews with a Metacritic score of 60 on PS5 and 59 on PC. User reviews are worse at just 3.6 out of 10, one of the lowest Metacritic user scores for a game in 2024 thus far. Touted as the company's first quadruple A game, its player count isn't showing up as such, according to Insider Gaming, who says the game currently has around 850,000 players total at the end of the first week. To put this into comparison, all right, 850,000 players. Helldivers 2 for a while was maxed only at 450. And the servers couldn't handle it. You couldn't get in there. Recently, they increased it to numbers closer to this. Plus, they implemented a patch that kicks players out for being idle. So there's no more camping in-game. It's performing well, but there are more people clamoring to play Helldivers 2 than this game. So that figure includes those who have opted to play the game with an 8-hour free trial provided by Ubisoft. So the number of those willing to pay or continue on with the game is likely considerably lower. Great way to think about it too. The outlet indicates the game is forecasted to cost the company around $200 million in its decade-long development. They've been working for this game for 10 years, y'all. Was it worth it? A sum that the company doesn't expect to make back. Thousands of developers worked on the game across 11 different studios, as the title initially inspired by the sailing segments of Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, saw countless changes in creative direction and constant internal delays. GameSpot in their review says everything that was great about Black Flag has been ripped out to accommodate tedious live service elements and a half-baked multiplayer that makes you feel disconnected from other players. One of the biggest factors for the low player numbers is the company's decision to charge full price, $70, a decision that reports say has been criticized both publicly and internally. One employee says, "I think we all know this is a $30 to $40 game at best, but it's not in our control to determine those things." Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. No camping and walk. I don't. Okay, let me rephrase that. Not camping in the sense of like a first-person shooter camping, like a Call of Duty camping. Camping as in, I don't want to have problems going back into the server. So instead of logging out, I'm going to stay and leave my system on, or I'm going to put it in rest mode and never leave the server. That's what I mean as far as camping is concerned. Because what a lot of people were doing in Helldivers 2 before they fixed the servers and before they put that patch in was that they would log in. Because sometimes it took like 30 minutes to get in because that's how backed up the servers were. They would get in, and once they're in, they never leave, thus preventing more people from coming in. A lot of people are doing that. So that's what I meant as far as that's concerned. But, okay, Skull and Bones. I mean, look. Microsoft already has Sea of Thieves. And I feel like the community there is tight. The game is not like this huge thing. At least I don't think so. But to put out a competitor to that was already a challenge for Ubisoft. The fact that it took them this long to put it out is already, that was, in my opinion, if I was there, that would have been like a huge warning flag, like a red flag. Like, it's already taking us this long to put this out. We should cut our losses and make it more attainable. One of the brilliant things that Helldivers 2 did was that it put out a game that, yes, it is your live service type of game, but they don't force you to have to pay for anything. Plus, they made it only $40. When games right now are fetching and asking for $70 a pop, you put out a game that's $40, that's fun, engaging, that has a very strong fan base and community now building around it, and they don't force you to and ask you to buy anything, that's a win-win. But Ubisoft has just never been good on the business side of those things. Never. I feel like, unfortunately, Ubisoft is falling along the lines of a Konami, of a Capcom, that they're starting to lose touch. They're starting to lose touch with the fan base, with the gamers out there. And they need to figure things out quick, because this is not looking good for them. To spend 10 years on what they call a quadruple A game, and it's not doing that well. And how much more can you really rely on the whole Assassin's Creed franchise? Sorry. I don't find that franchise appealing anymore. It hasn't been appealing to me for a bit. Solar, well, AFK should have an automatic logout. Oh, absolutely. I totally 1000% agree with that. When I was talking to my friend online, when I was playing Helldivers with him, I said that too. I was like, you would have thought they would have thought about that first. But then he countered to me and said, well, he was reading some comments from the developer They weren't expecting to have more than 200,000 concurrent players on this game. They didn't think this game was going to blow up the way it did. So much so that it's something in their code that prevented it from supporting such huge amount of players like what they're seeing now. So they had to retool so much when this game came out, with the type of reception it's got, which is a good problem for them to have, really. So it's working out for them. Then you got people, the guys behind Powell World, how that's doing so well for them, right? For a game that's not even finished, for it to blow up the way it did. It's crazy. Now, like I said, this week you have Final Fantasy Rebirth coming out, and that's going to be the next thing everyone's going to go nuts over. Me and what should we call Star-Lord? You probably missed this point. I said at the beginning of the stream, Wednesday, I will have not only a morning stream, but I'll also have a night stream. It's going to be a game and chat stream because I'm celebrating the release of Dark Forces Remastered, a game that somehow escaped my radar after I heard about it. And that finally comes out on Wednesday. A huge fan of that PC game from back in the day. The remastered looks fantastic. So I can't wait to play it and react to it live. So if you're around, definitely tune in for that. Why not cross servers? Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know how it is when it comes to game servers, especially because we have to also remember they are a first-person Sony developer. So I don't know if they were allotted only a certain amount or if they're contracted for a certain amount. Plus, they released it on PC at the same time, which is not something Sony usually does. And it also supports cross-platform. So I'm assuming that players on Steam, players on PlayStation, they're all sharing the same server anyway. And they only allotted for that small amount. So I don't know. It just sounds to me like it was a lot of bad planning, but not to their main fault, because I don't think they knew that this game was going to blow up the way it did. Again, good problem for them to have. But yeah. What is its game called? Skull and Bones? Skull and Bones, Skull and Bones, Skull and Bones.
You blew it!
So that's that. Speaking of Final excuse me. I'm going to drink some coffee. Hold on. Coffee drinking music. GTA 6 Online is going to suffer. I see it coming, possibly. I think that's one of the reasons why we're also hearing rumors about PlayStation 5 Pro. Let's jump. Well, I'll quickly jump into that now because that was something I wanted to say. PlayStation 5 Pro expected later this year. I'm here on Eurogamer. Sony is expected to launch a souped-up version of the PlayStation PS5 later this year, analysts have suggested. A new CNBC report notes that there was now broad consensus in the game industry that Sony is indeed preparing to launch a PS5 Pro in the second half of 2024, quoting Tokyo-based games analyst Serkan Toto. However, the report cautions that Sony is unlikely to see a large uptick in PS5 sales year on year as a result of the Pro's launch, and is also unlikely to cut the cost of the base PS5 model as a result. That sounds stupid. Sony will want to make sure to have a great piece of hardware ready when GTA 6 hits in 2025, a launch that will be a shot in the arm for the entire gaming industry. So there you go. And along with that, we have reports that Nintendo Switch 2 will now launch in 2025. So, according to Brazilian journalist Pedro Henrique Lutilipe, love that name, that is a great long name, who claims in a new OX do Controle video that he received the information from 5 separate sources. According to the source, they are also working on games targeted Q1 2025 to launch alongside the console itself, which has internally slipped out of a previous 2024 target. Eurogamer reports it's heard similar whispers from industry sources this week, though it has not been able to concretely substantiate them. So with those 2 bits of news coming out, it makes sense to me that it sounds like, one, PlayStation, they're gearing up for GTA 5. Plus, I don't know what they're doing with their console division because people are still getting used to PlayStation 5's period. You have no major games really coming out this year, except for, some would say, Final Fantasy Rebirth being one of them, right? Why put out another system for a system that people are still getting used to? And it's because they, I think, want to have a powerful piece of hardware so that when GTA 6 comes out, they're going to be really ready, right? I think the same thing with Nintendo Switch. I think they want to spend more time on working on their next console because they want to make a console that's going to last 10 years, very similar to what we have now with Switch. And they want it to be strong enough to support a GTA 6. Xbox, on the other hand, I think has very strong hardware now. It's hard for me to fathom that they're going to put out an Xbox Series X Pro out there. But maybe they'll do something different, an all-digital smaller one. I still think it's very possible that they're going to put out a portable Xbox, kind of like a Steam Deck. I know it's kind of crazy, but I think it's possible. So everyone's gearing up. It's a weird moment in gaming industry that we're in right now, where we have console cycles getting shorter and shorter, and it doesn't make any sense to me. And you're asking the consumer to pay more money, and it's unfortunate. That's why it's also good to be a PC gamer, because you don't have to always buy new stuff. Maintain, upgrade here and there, but you don't always have to buy new stuff. So it's going to be an interesting year in gaming. I will say that for sure. Star-Lord, invite-only sessions and solo sessions are needed, but public, I don't know. Yeah. If you're referring to like the server situation, yeah. And then Star-Lord, too many problems. Yeah, I agree. But going back to the big title coming out this week, and that is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. They are expecting, or not expecting, but the amount of reviews that's come out for this game has already set records. So Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the about to release second of a planned trilogy of games remaking Final Fantasy VII, has just landed the second highest Metacritic score of any game in the entire Final Fantasy franchise. The title is pulling in a 93 out of 100 on the review aggregator, making it second only to Final Fantasy IX with 94, and ahead of the likes of the original Final Fantasy VII and both Final Fantasy VI and Final Fantasy XII, which are all at 92. Final Fantasy VIII scored 90. The first of the remake trilogy, Final Fantasy VII Remake, pulled in an 87 for its original version and an 89 for its Integrad update. Other recent main series entries like Final Fantasy 15 got an 81, whilst Final Fantasy 16 was an 87. Article continues to say Rebirth is scoring praise for its open world variety of content, combat system, character depth, music, and presentation, but the ending and side quests have received more of a mixed reception. Well, I mean, this makes sense given that it is a part 2 of 3, so there's not going to be a solid ending there. Whereas Remake was set entirely in the city of Midgar, Rebirth unfolds in the open world of the planet and spans up to Forgotten Capital, though a visit to Wutai has been moved to the third installment. I'm not surprised by any of this. Everyone is excited for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Everybody. I can't wait to play it myself. So I'm very much looking forward to checking it out when I have a chance. Like I said, not this week probably, but more than likely sometime soon. But I have a friend, PQ, in the hizzy. If you're still there, this is going to be his game of the year because he loves this franchise. All right. Moving on to more news. First of all, I have to say this. All right. Last week, during the Nintendo Direct that we got, it was finally announced, or we finally got the answer as to which Xbox exclusives were going multi-platform. And right off the gate, with the Nintendo Direct, you had the first announcement, and it was Grounded, which I already knew. I was like, I knew it. I knew that was going to be one of them. Then later on, we found out Sea of Thieves was another one. Hi-Fi Rush. And then Pentiment. Now, these weren't all announced in the same Direct, but we had bits, tidbits. And then we had like separate trailer releases that came out like a day after. There was also a major announcement about Rare games finally being able to be playable on their online retro sections. You know, Nintendo, Super NES. Really, really interesting stuff. But I have to kind of criticize the Nintendo Directs because I love how they put so much focus on a lot of things, and even some things were not that hot. Then at the end, they had like a sizzle reel of all of these little things that I would have wanted them to talk more about. Like that was when you found out Pentiment was coming out to Switch too. I'm like, why didn't they talk about any of that stuff? You know, and the whole tone for the Nintendo Directs, doesn't it feel like those commercials that used to run in front of the Disney VHS tapes? You know what I'm talking about? Like, coming soon to Disney DVD. Or coming, or Disney new releases. That's how I feel the Nintendo Directs are. It's like, so is your audience a bunch of kids? Or are you trying to appeal to everybody? Because it feels too much like a Disney, like it's like a Disney kind of presentation. And I thought Nintendo's adult now. So what's going on? Like, they need to sprucing up their Directs because it feels like too kiddie to me. I don't know. That's just me. But it's weird. Yeah, a big announcement. I swear, dude, I'm going to go back into retro gaming once I find a way. Hey, I'm with you. That's why retro gaming is always something I'm still going to partake in because there's still a lot of games I've never played. Now with emulation being as good as it is, it makes it so much easier to go back and play games that I haven't played before. Yeah, and I'm visiting for the first time. You know, that's why I created this yearly pledge. This is going to be the first year I'm doing it, where I listed out a lot of retro games that I want to go and revisit or visit for the first time and spend time playing it this year. Because it is true. It's hard for anyone to keep up these days with a lot of these games coming out and the new games, you know, with how expensive they are. You know, or I have so many games from the past, whether it's PlayStation games, Super Nintendo games, Genesis games, most of them are in storage that I still haven't beaten yet. So why bother trying to catch up and stay up to date? Well, I just can go back and try to play these other things. You know, or emulate it. It's so easy to emulate stuff now. Especially when you go back to like the 8-bit, 16-bit eras. emulation is so strong that it's like you are playing the original thing on original hardware. There's really no difference, except for like the keen, technical eye who can pick up on things. But there were a lot of interesting things that was announced. So last week you had the Nintendo Direct, and then you had the IGN FanFest. And between the two, there was a lot of interesting things that were announced. The Contra Operation Galuga, I thought was great. I played the demo. I'm going to be doing a review on the demo on the channel. But it felt like old school Contra, but just modernized. So I had a lot of fun with that. Plus, they're doing some interesting new stuff in there. The surprise announcement was Star Wars Battlefront Classic. That they're going to bring that, remastered versions out and support 64 players concurrently on servers. Wow. That might have to be a game I play on stream too, because that could be a lot of fun. And I've always been a huge fan of the Battlefront series, especially the Star Wars Battlefront series. And I was just talking about this game with a bunch of friends, and it's amazing that they're coming back out with that. So that was a highlight. You got some retro remasters, or at least reintroductions, like Felix the Cat Collection, Rocket Knight Adventures. They got that documentary game interactive thing, Llamasoft, the Jeff Minter story. That was something that was fascinating. Ninja 5.0, I thought looked like a lot of fun. They have a Hitman game coming out that's going to be free for a limited time for everyone to play, starring Sean Bean. I thought that was a lot of fun to hear about. I thought that was cool. Akira Toriyama's manga being turned into a video game, Sandland, which looks beautiful. If you're a fan of Dragon Ball, that looks fascinating. It looks so good. Mario's about to be my heterosexual life mate. If he isn't yet, he will be. For all of us.
I'm gonna come.
So a lot of great reveals there. But yeah, it's funny how we got that reveal, or we got the information about which Xbox Studios games were going multi-platform. And I remember the discourse, the kind of conversations that were being had prior to Phil Spencer having that little podcast where he talked about the plans and the future of Xbox. And then last week, we got all the reveals of the games going multi-platform. We got it a lot faster and sooner than I was expecting it. I really thought we weren't going to find out until later on in the year. But we got wind of it so soon, and then nothing. How come no one now is talking about it? People just love drama. They love fanboyism. Why isn't anyone talking about it now? I don't understand that. Is anyone excited for these games to go multi-platform? Maybe not. Maybe it was much ado about nothing. I don't know. I just found it extremely, extremely odd that now it's just very quiet. Maybe we'll hear more about it when the games actually do release, but they even say the biggest surprise was Grounded coming to Switch, available now. So that means they've been working on this stuff for a while, just keeping it under wraps. Pentiment, I think that's available this week. Hi-Fi Rush, very soon. Sea of Thieves, I think in a month or two. Crazy how fast we're getting these things. It's mind-boggling to me. Very, very fascinating. So who's excited about it? Let me know. in the comments if you're excited for any of these Xbox exclusive games now going multi-platform. And which system are you excited for? PlayStation or Switch? Will you be playing them? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments there. Lastly, another bit of news here. Two bit of news. Respawn is developing a first-person Star Wars Mandalorian game. I was very excited to hear about that. Here we are on Insider Gaming. Sources have revealed that Respawn Entertainment is developing a first-person Star Wars Mandalorian game that is in its early stages of development. According to sources, the game will see the player take control of a Mandalorian bounty hunter, unclear who, set during the time when the Galactic Empire is dominating across the galaxy. It's your job as a bounty hunter to capture bounties, dead or alive, for cash rewards. As first reported by VentureBeat's Jeff Grubb, the game was being led by Respawn creative director Mohammed Alavi, who left the studio to pursue his next adventure. According to Grubb, who didn't disclose it was a Star Wars game at that time, but the game will be focused on mobility and style as guiding principles. The game's high mobility has been made possible storytelling-wise thanks to the Mandalorian's jetpack, which allows the player to perform horizontal dashing, vertical jumping, boost sliding, somewhat similar to sliding down hills in Apex Legends, and more. Sources describe the game as very fast-paced and as much will reward players who plays in this style. For example, the player's health will mainly regenerate based on successive skills. As to be expected, playing as a Mandalorian bounty hunter gives the player a wide variety of weapons and gadgets, including a wrist rocket, grapple hook, visor for targeting enemies and bounties, and more. It's understood that the game will not be an open world and have linear levels. Thank goodness. Thank you. Thank you. Not every game has to be open world. We can still have linear storylines, please. Take place in a variety of different planets in the Star Wars universe. While it's unclear when the game will be released, it was said we're still a year or two away at the very least. It's currently unclear if the game will have a multiplayer experience or not. So I like this news. I do. This sounds like that underground game that we were supposed to get before that was scrapped. There was supposed to be a Star Wars game in development that dealt with bounty hunters. And it was supposed to be like an underground, the underbelly of the Star Wars universe. And I think several years ago, they released some of the demo footage and it looked kind of cool. But story-wise, I think that's kind of what we've been wanting to get for some time now. And it looks like we're going to get it. I mean, I don't know where this game is going to go or how long we're going to have to wait for it. We've already seen it before, games announced, games talked about, and then we never see anything from it. So we'll see. But as of right now, it sounds great. I like it. So we'll see what happens. Star-Lord, I am as excited as a piece of shit flushed in a VR toilet.
Wow. I'm gonna come. Yeah!
There you have it. Last bit of news here, more like a trailer that, oh, hello, you're very loud, that I got really excited. Look, I am a sucker for beat 'em ups, especially 2D pixel beat 'em ups. When TMNT Shredder's Revenge came out, I was all over it. Anytime any kind of beat 'em up like that comes out, I'm all over it. And one of the things I always kept saying, and especially in conversations with friends, is this is a perfect formula for revitalizing a lot of stuff we grew up watching. Throw them into a beat 'em up, make a quick game out of it. It's going to do well and it's going to be fun. Pick any 80s cartoon series and you can turn that into a beat 'em up and it'll be a lot of fun. Thundercats, He-Man, Transformers, Dino Riders, Dino Saucers, Mask. Even, all right, let's go nuts. My Little Pony, Rainbow Bright, Jam and the Holograms. Tell me you cannot take any one of these and put them in some sort of beat 'em up like game and it won't be fun. Think about it. Let's go into the 90s. You know, Ren and Stimpy, Beavis and Butthead. What else do you kids watch in the 90s? SpongeBob, Fairly Odd Parents, Doug. Any one of these things could work well in a beat 'em up. So, the more and more I see companies doing games like that, or taking the risk to do games like that, I get excited. And finally, we have another one coming out. It was hinted and teased last year, and now we got another full trailer for it from IGN FanFest, and that is G.I. Joe Wrath of Cobra. And we got a brand new trailer for that. It is a beat 'em up, and for me, I don't know what to tell you. This looks like a lot of fun for me. I mean, look at this. I mean, this just looks like so much fun. You got Scarlet there, Duke, Gung Ho. Where's Bazooka? You gotta have Bazooka. What about Roadblock? The possibilities are endless. Man, look how fun this is. Come on. It's a no-brainer. Who's that? Flint? There's Roadblock. You know, plus you introduce like guns into it all. And then you could have like unlockable characters or DLC that you pay for. I mean, look at that. Look at this. Look at this. Boom. F you, Cobra. You know, and then could you just imagine all the different kind of Easter eggs you could have in this game, in a game like this? Yeah, where's Storm Shadow? Where's Snake Eyes? Hey, look at this. Look at that. He got his dog with him too? Come on. This looks like so much fun to me. And I honestly think more and more publishers. Now, who's doing this? This is done by Freedom Games, Maple Powered Games, Retro Arcade from the Hasbro. I mean, I think more companies should take risks like this. Where's the Thundercats? Where's He-Man? You know, and then when you play with friends, oh, come on. Think about the nostalgia behind it all. It's going to be so much fun. So much fun. Star-Lord, Taylor Swift is OP. She would have an army of Swifties. Oh, always. All you have to do is insult her and you're dead meat. Oh, yeah. You make one bad joke and that's it. You're public enemy number one for a while. That's always so true. All right, y'all. I think that's going to be the morning today. We are approaching almost 3 p.m. here Eastern. Thank you, as always, for watching and tuning in. Star-Lord, glad to see you here. As always, I'll be back again on Wednesday morning, so stay tuned. Again, I'll be talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender, Netflix review and discussion. Stay tuned for that. And then later that night, Star Wars Dark Forces Remastered playthrough. It's going to be a lot of fun. Enjoy your weeks until then. Have a great day. Enjoy your week. If I don't see you on Wednesday, hopefully I'll see you Friday or whenever. But I'm going to head on out for now. Stay cool, stay classy, stay safe. Don't forget, like, subscribe, all that YouTube spiel. I will catch you all next time. Peace out, everybody. Bye-bye. Oops.